and thank you for tuning in to Tay Talk Tuesday. I'm Shantae Williams, and today we have Mr. Tony Brown Jr. from Liberty Mutual Insurance here to talk about the importance of understanding the different types of insurances that you have and the different coverages. And so we're going to jump right into the show, and I'm going to let Mr. Tony Brown Jr. introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about insurances and why he got into insurance.
Well, Shantae, thank you very much for having me here. I greatly appreciate it. Just want to thank you for having this platform to have important information communicated, broadcast, because it's very important that we're having these kind of conversations because they don't get had enough. So thank you for having this show, and thank you for having me on here.
Oh, thank you.
Just a little bit about myself. I mean, I'm an insurance agent with Liberty Mutual. I handle home, life, auto, annuities, even renters too. So I mean, I handle that too, and insurance is very passionate to me. I think it's very important that we make sure we protect the things that we care for the most, and that's why I kind of got into business.
Okay. Tell me about, like, if I am in the process of trying to get insurance on the house I just bought, how do I know what type of coverage I need to get?
Very good question. I think the biggest thing is that whenever you're buying a home is that you want to make sure that you're properly insuring your home for the what if. And of course, insurance, I always compare it to, insurance it's like a bulletproof vest. I don't want any holes in my bulletproof vest, so I want to make sure I have the best protection and provide the best protection for my clients. That comes with each individual having each different needs. For instance, with your home, you want to make sure it's properly assessed. Normally, whenever you're going through an appraisal, home building appraisal will probably give you a accurate guess on how much your home is worth. It either doesn't have anything to do with how much you paid for the house, but when you're dealing with home insurance, it's how much it will cost to actually physically replace that home should you experience a complete loss. So those numbers can be off. So that's why it's very important to actually make sure you're going through with a fine-tooth comb with a professional, and actually don't be afraid to ask questions. I think questions are important. If you're dealing with the right person, they'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you and actually inform you about that. Also, you want to make sure you're covering your property and your contents. So, for instance, making sure you have the proper coverage on what you physically have in your home, whether you have fine china. Big thing I see actually that's not listed is wedding rings and engagement rings. Your insurance has certain limits on jewelry and things like that. That if you don't go through the proper measure, you may think your $20,000 wedding ring is covered, but honestly, you're only covered for $2,500, which is a huge difference. So, wouldn't want anybody to go through that unwelcome surprise of knowing that their very expensive wedding ring is not covered. So
let me get this straight. So basically, if I have we encourage people to have homeowners insurance. So if I have homeowners insurance and, of course, my wedding ring or my valuables are in the house, if something was to happen to my house, then my jewelry and all that kind of stuff is covered up under my policy?
I would say yes. You have coverage for jewelry and other things underneath your policy, but there are certain limits that each company has. So that's why it's important to make sure, it doesn't hurt to make sure that, hey, this ring I have, normally go through and you get it appraised, and then once you get the appraisal, just call your insurance agent, and you'll be surprised. It doesn't cost that much it's called an endorsement. You just basically call in and say, hey, I got an appraisal for my ring, and it's $20,000, and then they go ahead, recalculate it into your premium, and then you're covered.
Wow.
So it's not a huge difference, honestly. It's just making sure you take the time to do it, because if something happens, that ring's not covered. Sorry.
Okay, so now I have a question. You said call in. What is the difference between me calling like the 1-800 number or if I call you, my local agent?
Well, I always speak from my own personal experience, and I know for me, insurance, prior to me getting into the insurance business, it was a very impersonal thing. It was just something that was either automatically taken from the account and you paid your car note, or you paid this note. I never had a person that I say, hey, that's my insurance agent. To me, it's important to actually have somebody that you go to that, hey, they handle this and they give you the best recommendation, the best advice. There's a huge difference for me because I take it personally. I make sure I, periodically just check on my people, see how they're doing. And, if you have any kind of life events, a birthday, you get married, the birth of a child, it's important to have that person to go to. And then, unfortunately, if you ever have an instance where, God forbid, a car accident, having that person to call that hey, I can trust Tony to go ahead and point me in the right direction. Or if something ever happens, say I can call Tony and he'll go ahead and do the leg work and make sure that he has me covered. So yeah.
Okay. So let me ask this. So when I go through the home buying process with my clients and I say, hey, shop around for the best homeowners insurance policy that you can get, and this translate for, home insurance, shopping around for your insurance period. So I'm just using the example of homeowners insurance because of course I'm the realtor, so I'm gonna say care more about the home, but I'm trying to
go ahead and
bridge the gap.
Of course.
So when I encourage my clients to shop around for homeowners insurance, when I tell them to shop around, do they shop around for what is the least expensive policy, or what are some shopping around tips that they need to look for when they're shopping around?
Well, shop around, if you dedicate the time to shop around, I will tell you that you have to make sure you're informed. You don't have to know everything about it, but just know enough to make sure that, if you're getting something that doesn't sound quite right, that, hey, that's why I say go back to asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask the question. Most carriers actually, and, personally myself, I have the ability to do what's called cross quote. So if, for instance, if rate comes back and it's not as competitive or it's not to the client's liking, I'll go through a course and make my recommendation. My recommendations are based on questions that I ask personally about, for instance, the property. We go through, assess, what if there are there any custom bathrooms, custom object items, make sure it's a proper assessment and then make a recommendation based on that. Not primarily price, but unfortunately, most consumers get fixed on price. Mm-hmm. I don't get fixed on price. I mean, now price is important, yes. However, I wouldn't want to sacrifice price for, the inconvenience of, if something happens not being properly covered, and then it's like, you know what? Well, that old adage where you get what you pay for, sometimes can come true. But whenever tips for shopping is making sure that you're not ideally focusing on price, but making sure that you're properly covered for your true home replacement cost. That's what I would recommend, is being sure you're properly covered and not just focusing on, hey, what's the price that I'm paying.
Okay. So we talked mostly about homeowners insurance. Mm-hmm. Can you go into talking about auto and annuities and then life insurance?
Sure. Auto insurance, I mean, that's another one of those things where, it's a state requirement, of course, to be covered by your auto.
You have to have at least liability.
Yeah, you have to have at least liability, and, the state limits are what's called $25.50, and that's pretty much $25,000 per person mm-hmm. for bodily injury, not to exceed $50,000 per incident. That is the state minimum. And like I said, prior to me getting insurance, I mean, insurance was a state regulated thing. So guess what? I got insurance and I got what was required. Mm-hmm. However, if you get more involved and you understand what happens when you have a car accident, these costs, expenses, everything can start adding up. And then especially when you start having assets or things that you want to protect, mm-hmm. insurance is about protecting your assets. If you go out here and cause an accident, multiple car accident, the average car driving around is probably at least more than $25,000 on average.
So if I had just the liability and it only covered $25,000, that's just on the bodily injury. That's not the cost of the car.
Well, what's going to happen is that it's only going to cover what you're liable for. So if you contribute to the car accident, it's going to cover the other person. So it's not necessarily going to even cover you. Mm. It's going to cover the other person. So you're taking care of the other person's damage that you caused.
Oh, because it was my fault.
Yeah. Gotcha. So let's say, for instance, if you have a car note or if you still have money that you owe on that car, mm-hmm. let's say if the car is totaled, then guess what? You got to figure out how you're going to, cover the gap, so to speak. Because, if you're riding around with liability only, mm-hmm. which if you have a lease or you have a loan on your car, mm-hmm. most of them require that you have to have full coverage.
Gotcha.
To keep you from being in that situation. But it can present some bad situations when you're not properly covered.
Oh, wow. See, that's what we was talking about earlier, knowing what you need to be covered. So exactly. If you know that you're an accident-prone person, you might not want to get only liability. You might want to get full coverage. So paying those extra dollars now could save you thousands of dollars later on.
You said it. You said it.
Okay, so that's a little bit about auto insurance. What are annuities?
Annuities, I get that question a lot. It's pretty much a fixed payment. It's an investment vehicle. I say investment, but like for instance, the average bank account is probably earning you maybe less than 1%. Annuity is, say, if you ever get like a structured settlement, or if you have a large sum of money that's just sitting in the account. Normally, I recommend typically just moving it over into an annuity that actually yields you a higher percentage. It's something that you periodically just feed money into, and it gives you a guaranteed interest rate. For instance, it could be 2.6% versus getting an interest rate of 0.06%, which the average bank account gets 0.06%.
So how does that? Okay, so how what's the? Do I have to have like a minimum balance, or can I? When you say I have to put money into it monthly, can I withdraw money, or how does that work?
Well, I would say each company has them structured differently, but you have options in there where you can actually, if you need to take money out, you can take money out. However, I will put a little however in there. There may be penalties for withdrawing the money early. So you have that as well. You have annuities where you can, put one payment and boom, it covers you. Or you have annuities where you can, periodically have payments every month, have it annually, have it semi-annually. It all really caters to what you want to do with that.
So let me make sure I understand correctly. So annuity is basically a higher interest paying savings account.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there like a minimum, like the least expensive annuity account you can offer? You have to open the account with $10,000, or what is like the?
Well, yeah, and you do have some minimum requirements. Like you may have some, and you have a minimum of $1,000 you put in there, and then you have a certain amount you put in monthly, whether it be $100, $50, whatever you want there, and then you get a certain guaranteed interest based on what you have in there, and also the terms you have as far as the time frame. I kind of compare it somewhat to like a CD. You have a cash deposit where you put in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Of course, the longer the term, the higher the rate you get back. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Learn something new about annuities, because I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. When I have my little account with the bank, and they be like, oh, for the month we've given you an extra 3 cents. So
that's what it amounts to sometimes. These banks are there. They provide security. However, if you go to the bank and try to get that money back, I guarantee your interest rate is going to be way higher than the interest rate that they're paying your money on. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about life insurance. I had a question presented to me by one of my clients about, she's a married client, and she was like, if something happens to me while we're going through this home buying process, I need, life insurance, homeowner's insurance. Something was to happen to me, I want it to be left in my husband's name.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, that's not a question for me. You need to talk to Tony Brown. So can you please?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would say this, with all the things that I have the privilege of selling, life insurance to me is probably the one I'm most passionate about, because of all the things that we protect. Your life is probably the most. I won't say probably. Your life is the most important thing that you can protect. And it's so ironic that I find that most people protect everything else but their life. So for instance, you have cell phone insurance on your phone. Your new iPhone 7. If you drop that puppy or it cracks, or you like whoo, but you have
calling Verizon. Hey, I dropped my phone.
Exactly. But it highlights a bigger picture of how much more important would it be to value your life and insure it and protect it, versus something like a cell phone or your car. Your car can be replaced. You get in the car accident, we can replace that.
Right.
Your house burns down, we can replace that.
Right.
Unfortunately, you can't. I can't bring you back. However, when going through that time, it makes it a little bit easier if you have taken the time to go through certain measures to make sure that the people who are left behind are financially taken care of. Because there's a lot of expenses that involve. And personally, for me, having family members that have died or gone through different things, or having friends, and not seeing what happens when they're not properly insured, or having GoFundMe accounts. We see that more more and more these days, where you have to raise money to bury a person. I kind of prepared a simplified acronym for life for you. Life insurance to me, when I'm talking to people, as far as how you come up with your number, I break down L in life as loans and liabilities. So sit down and write down whatever your loans, your liabilities are, whether it be college tuition that you've had, or whether it be house, car note, credit cards. Write those down. Next thing would be income replacement. Basically, how much money do you make? And how many years do you want to replace that income if something were to happen? The next thing in there, F, it stands for funeral expenses. Wow. The average funeral cost anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000, and those are real figures. I mean, so whenever you're having to go through and bury someone, there are costs involved with that.
Right.
And then lastly, I deal with estate or educational expenses. So if you have children in the mix, of course, you want them to do your best to provide for them, make sure they have a good future, education, whether it be wedding or just money to leave behind for an inheritance to continue on a legacy. Those are important things that we should talk about. But unfortunately, it's just things that we don't talk about enough.
So I need like a $100 million policy.
Well, I mean, I mean, definitely call me for that. But I mean, in that instance, that would be an instance of, hey, you're definitely overinsured, but I mean, a good number comes.
But you said the L, how you broke it down, the L, the I, the F, and the E. Okay.
Yeah.
So with just F, funeral expenses, that's already $20,000, and when I go out, I want to go out.
Oh,
so it might be.
Okay. That
might be $100,000.
We gonna travel. We gonna party. Okay.
Right.
We gonna party.
So just depending
Open
on
bar. No, I'm
so depending on what I think my funeral expenses may be, because I can't just be basic. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I wouldn't expect that. Trust
me. That's just on the F part, and that's $20,000. So I have to have at least, if I want to just go basic, $20,000.
Definitely. I mean, real instance this week. I had a young gentleman. He's married. He has life insurance on himself, but he has a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Oh wow!
And I just had the conversation with him, and I was able to work in some things for him. And he got 3 $20,000 policies for his kids. And those are, and they were whole life policies. And the whole life, and that's something we kind of didn't touch on, but you can have lengthy conversations about life insurance. But to break down life, you have term insurance and you have whole. Term just covers a certain term in your life. So 20-year, 10-year, if you die, boom, you're guaranteed this amount. After that time period, it basically ends.
Oh, dang.
Whole life covers your whole life. One thing is guaranteed. When we're born, we're going to die.
Right.
At some point in time. We don't know when. Whole life, the biggest difference is that you can actually pull from it. It's you have cash value in it. So whole life has tangible cash value. And it's cheaper when you're younger. Because quite naturally, you don't have any health issues or anything to worry about. So insurance is cheaper when you're younger, and that's why getting it for your kids is actually a great idea.
So if I wanted to get some life insurance for my kid, how young can they be before I get the life insurance on them?
As much as I would like to be in the waiting room at the hospital and sign them up right there when they come out, it's as low as I've seen 14 days. So once the baby's out, 2 weeks normally, that's the time frame where you can go ahead and get the policy started. And you have different companies actually, and like Gerber, for instance. Gerber's a household word because I've heard it when I was growing up. Gerber Life, and I personally shopped them before making the choice to get life insurance for my children. However, I found that I was cheaper, so hey, I was my own biggest. I was my own biggest customer, so I went ahead and got some policies myself too. So
Gotcha. So even though when the baby is born, you can't sign them up then. So should I call you like, hey, I'm about to have a baby? Should I call you now, or should I call you after the 14th day?
Well, it's kind of your own personal decision on that. But like periodically for me, it's a time. I'm just getting started in the business. But however, it's something that systematically every year I would want to check in on my clients. There may be a life event, and normally if you're talking to a client, it's like, hey, my wife's pregnant, or such and such, or hey, I'm pregnant. I kind of would tag mark that like, hey, let me check back on her in 9 months and just kind of say, hey, congratulations, or just kind of checking on you, see how things going. But hey, if you're gonna call, it wouldn't matter. It would be before, or just saying, hey, Tony, I'm at the hospital, so
Hey, I'm in labor. Get that policy together.
Like, did you call the doctor first? Don't call the doctor first, okay? Let's get you to the hospital, okay?
Right. So, okay. So would you recommend, how we talked about getting the life insurance policy at the younger age? So should you go ahead and do term life just in case you need to borrow against that? Or, I mean, not term life, whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Or should you get term life and just do it for like 80 years or something?
How much time do you have on the show? You know what? These are great questions and they're very controversial topics too.
Mm-hmm.
You have different people or different financial advisors, like for instance, David Ramsey, who has certain viewpoints about invest in term and
Mm-hmm.
Invest the rest or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Each serves its own different purpose. Term, if you're in your key earning years,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, from I would say, if you have a family or anything like that, you want to make sure you're protecting, your children and your wife.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen instances where people get term for maybe 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they may have whole life in place for a certain amount just to cover their funeral expenses.
Wow.
So and like I say, it's traditionally cheaper to go ahead and get it when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
So if a $20,000 life policy or whole life policy isn't going to cost you a whole lot of money. And then for term, you want to have that term in place for maybe from year 25 to year 55. Have your 30-year term to cover certain expenses to make sure that if something happens, then the big portion of replacing your income and replacing the value that you have to your family is taken care of.
Okay. Well, we really don't have. I know how you said we can go on the show for,
Oh, we can keep
forever.
going with this. We can keep going all day long.
But
open the lines up. Well, you got a 1-800 number? Come on.
Okay, 1-800 number.
Let's go on.
But if we did not cover, a topic, or if you have questions about, one of the different types of insurance policies that Mr. Tony Brown Jr. covers, then you should definitely give him a call. That's what this whole Talk Tuesday is about, is asking the questions. You don't know what you don't know. So
Exactly.
You need to go to the professional in the field that you're interested in gaining more knowledge about and ask them. Yes, you can Google anything, but how often do we go to a site and it may not be as accurate when you have a living, breathing professional right here? And to ask information is free. Like, all you have to do is just call them and ask the question. They don't okay, for 1 minute, I'm going to charge you $5. So it's not like that. This is the whole reason why I do Talk Tuesday, because there are so many things that, we don't know. Nobody's having that conversation about it. So, Mr. Tony Brown Jr., if somebody has a question about any of the different topics of home insurance, life insurance, annuities, auto, how can they reach you?
Oh, I'm very accessible. You can, of course, Facebook, which is the medium that it's going to be broadcasted on. My direct cell phone number is 251-622-2852. I'm very accessible. I like to get feedback from people, because at the end of the day, I think it's important that regardless of who you go with, that I have the important conversation that I feel you need to have, and that I make the best recommendation for you regardless of who you go with. And I just rather see some people walk away informed and make changes that's going to affect them and their family than to just hold this knowledge in and not talk to people about it.
Yeah. That's the reason why I pick people like Mr. Tony Brown Jr. to come on to the show, because we're all about educating the community about things that are not being talked about. So, again, what's your telephone number again?
It is 251-622-2852.
Yeah. So, thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Coming on Talk Tuesday.
And please buy some houses from Shantae. That way I can go ahead and insure them, and then she can go ahead and take care of getting all that the closing costs and all that stuff taken care of for you.
Right. You're going to be in good hands.
Definitely.
We have products that we sell, but we try to do the best that works for you. We don't sell just to sell. You know what I'm saying? We do this because we care and we want our community to do better and be more informed. So, again, get the house from me. Tony Brown Jr. Insurance. And then you can do a bundle policy.
That's right.
And then you can go from there. So thanks for tuning in. Please leave feedback below. And if we did not cover something on the show, we would definitely reach out to you. Or if you don't feel comfortable with putting it on for typing anything for everybody to see, you have his contact information. You have my contact information. And I'll give it to you again. My telephone number is 205-420-3557. And the best method of contact for me would probably be email, and my email is Shantay205, SHANTAY205 So, you got anything else to say?
You know what? I think that's good. Just thanking you again for being on here. Definitely welcome the feedback. So anything you want to see featured on here, I'm sure Ms. Shantay would definitely welcome that. But the feedback is important, so definitely give us feedback because I want to see this thing going bigger and better. Okay.
All right. See y'all in 2 weeks.
All right.
Bye.